Oh, do we have the written communications?
In that under written communications.
Great, thanks. Excellent. Right, can I get a motion to approve the agenda as modified?
I make a motion to approve the agenda as modified.
I second.
Okay. We're adopting tonight's agenda. Chairperson Sims,
Aye.
Commissioner Davis,
Aye.
Commissioner Greenlee,
Aye.
Commissioner Kern,
Aye.
Commissioner Sewell.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, next we're going to go on to the approval of the minutes of the September 11th meeting. Can I get a motion to approve those minutes?
I'll approve those.
Thank you. Commissioner Sewell, do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right. We are approving the minutes from our last meeting. Chairperson Sims.
Aye.
Sorry. Commissioner Davis,
Aye.
Commissioner Greenlee,
Aye.
Commissioner Kern,
Aye.
Commissioner Sewell.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, and do we have any citizen communications?
We do not.
All right, that will bring us then to presentations. I believe we have the Aquatics program coming up.
All right, so I'm going to invite Joseph Madrigal and Sarah Nahas up to the podium, and they're going to give you some highlights from our various aquatics programs.
Hi, it's nice to see you all again. You can move on to the next slide. So, as most of you know, Jeff and I switched. Am I too far? Okay. Jeff and I switched our desks and our duties last December. So I have been overseeing our pool and the aquatic programming ever since then. So to kind of get things started, we do have some pool parties and rentals, usually during the warmer months of the year. Gazebo rentals take place during rec swim on Saturdays and Sundays. They're basically reserve an entrance of up to 25 people. So in the event that the pool is very crowded, those 25 people don't have to wait in the waiting list or wait in line. And obviously you get reserved use of the gazebo area. And then the private party rentals are on Saturdays after rec swim. They can have up to 50 people and they get exclusive access to the whole facility. The lifeguards are on duty throughout the entire party to enforce rules and ensure everyone's safety. And then we also did 3 Brisbane School District end-of-year parties. So 2 of them were the 5th grade parties, and then we do the 6th grade one for Littman as well. And then, before we move on, I would like to introduce Joseph Madrigal. He's worked at the pool for about 8 years, and he's currently one of our head lifeguards, and he's here to help present.
Hello, how is everyone doing today? So, the water aerobics program is 10 to 11, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And 10 drop-in students usually happen November 23rd to September 24th. 15 monthly registrations and a total of 25 participants per class. So it's pretty loaded, just in general. I mean, with those numbers, what they mean is the water aerobics program is very popular. There's a lot of people who come. And whether they register online beforehand or they come in to, enjoy the pool as a drop-in, it's quite a busy program. Yeah. Let me see what else. That's pretty much it with that.
So we have adult private lessons, and I don't think this was advertised very much previously, but Laura Zavikian is a contracted instructor with us. She has over 20 years of swim coaching experience, and she teaches adults from a wide range of skills, so people learning to swim or working on just like basically getting more comfortable in the water, all the way to people refining their strokes and improving endurance. So she has some students who are like getting ready for triathlons and things. So far, from April to September, she's had 155 lessons and 27 students.
That's not a typo.
That's
Wow.
also quite popular.
She's busy.
So the group swim lessons, I know this quite well. I have taught swim lessons for about 6 years out of the years that I have worked as a lifeguard. Maybe, 6 or 7. So there is about 761 group lesson registrations, and this is just for April through October. So we have a wide variety of different types of lessons that we offer. We have group lessons, but we also have private lessons. And throughout April and October, there was 10 youth private lessons as well. We also have an unofficial swim club that kind of acts as our swim team because we aren't certified to be a competing swim team. And we've had about 55 Piranha Swim Club registrations, and that's from April to October. And that's been a huge increase. So that, I don't know if you can see it on your screens as you can. The girl in the blonde, I actually taught her how to swim. She was in my swim lessons maybe like a year before she became a lifeguard. So now she teaches swim lessons. So it's also a pretty good program for the kids who are in the lessons to eventually transition into a lifeguard. It's an effective thing for that. It's also just good to get kids swimming as early as possible. So it's a great program for that. Also, we have been able to increase the capacity for lessons by having 2 lessons instructors. So with that, we've just been able to have, more people that are able to join in the lessons, but then there's also, it's better for the instructors. It's easier for them to, help the kids and focus on, teaching them. So you can also see that with starfish and the guppy. There's always like at least like 4 to 6. I don't know. There's a lot of people always in the water whenever I'm guarding lessons, so it's pretty good.
Next one. So as we are right down the street from Littman Middle School, we do collaborate with them. So in the spring and fall trimesters, they hold their PE classes at our pool. So right now their unit is going to finish in a couple weeks, so around October 18th. They also have their Club Littman after school program has junior guard and Littman Swim Club. The club kind of throws me off, sorry. And we are very lucky that those are taught by Miss A, who is one of our head guards. She's taught junior guard for about 6 years, and she is also a special education paraprofessional at Littman Middle School, so she is with those kids during the day, and they know her. They listen to her pretty well for the most part, as much as middle school kids can. So you can see on the right picture, she's demonstrating streamline arms with the swim club. That was, I think, last spring or winter. And then we don't have swim club right now, but we do have the biggest junior guard group we've ever had with about 20 kids. And they're learning the in-water skills of compact jumps and active rescues.
So our lifeguard training and certification, this is how I became a lifeguard. We have a staff in service week, or that's right before summer begins. So for our new lifeguards and for our lifeguards that have been there for year round, it's a good time to really fresh up on, all the skills that we're going to have to be potentially using or actively using during the summer. And then during the summer, we train for a week, once per week, throughout the entire summer. So we always are really fresh up on, the stuff that we have to be really confident in. The rest of the year, we train at least once per month because a lot of our staff is seasonal. They go back to college during the fall, so there isn't as much of a need to train as much, but we still keep up with our training at least once a month to make sure that our lifeguards are fully and utterly able to do everything that we are supposed to do. We also hold a lifeguard certification course November 15th to the 17th, so it's like a weekend class. It's where you learn everything first by book, but then by in-person trial. It's kind of like what you can see up there. A lot of, pretending to rescue people. Well, I wouldn't say pretending is the best word, but, you're actively imagining that they'd be drowning in a situation where you rescue them. So you can see a lot of those lifeguards are, enacting CPR. One of our lifeguards, Evie, is, really putting on a good, sad face for being injured in the head. Our other lifeguard, Kiara, is demonstrating a good whistle for when you were approaching. And yeah, we just get all that done, and we really stay on top of it. So
So most of the time we have adult lap swim or recreation swim. And since January to this month, we have sold 444 lap swim monthly passes. So basically, people with monthly passes can come as many times as they want. They can come twice a day. Sometimes they do. That averaged out to 44.4 a month. So we have a pretty consistent number of lap swimmers, even during the cold months. And then our general entrances throughout the last year, as you can see, we had 8,251 adults and 7,408 youth and seniors. I think the thing to mainly highlight is the majority of our guests that come to adult lap swim and rec swim are non-residents. So I have worked in Brisbane for a while, and I have met all kinds of new people working at the pool, just because of our proximity to, we get a lot of people from San Francisco and South San Francisco. Yeah, it's been pretty cool.
So we also have a variety of special events that we hold. So what the events that we've already had, we've had a polar bear plunge in December. So that just basically means like cold water. Everyone jumps in kind of later at night when it's cold. We had a mermaid and pirate party. We had two of our lifeguards pretend to be, well, actually there was a few different lifeguards who pretended to be mermaids and pirates. So we actually had mermaid tails that we used around and floaties. Rubber duck swims, we still have the rubber ducks that we use for rec swim. It's quite it's a popular thing, I'd say. So yeah, a lot of that out of the world swim is, space themed, island vibes. You get the gist. So a lot of it, we have these special events so that way the public can interact with the pool in a way that they can't normally. We don't normally allow floaties, for example, but it's a special day where, that's advised and we can watch it. So we have an upcoming Spooky Splash, which is like, is it carving? Or not carving? It's like decorating, holiday decorating. And then, I'm still not really sure about that. But yes, thank you. Do you have any comments and questions and concerns?
I can clarify. Spooky Splash will be in place of our underwater pumpkin patch. So we're going to do Halloween-themed activities in and out of the water.
Thank you. Thank you. I just do want to say that this commission has had a lot of discussion about the importance and the value of swimming lessons and lifeguard training. And we feel very passionately, I think, as a commission, that it's a great service to the city and to the people of Brisbane and to the people outside of Brisbane, it seems. So thank you for the important work you do.
Thank you.
I want to open it up to questions from fellow commissioners. I saw you taking notes, Frank, and there might be some others who have some questions.
Pretty basic question is, for the Lippman, the kids that are using the pool for PE, is that an elective, as in they choose to go swimming? Or is it just part of like a rotational?
I believe it's part of their rotational PE program. If they don't swim, they are supposed to keep moving, so they walk laps around the pool.
Ah, okay. Very good. Thank
They
you.
conveniently forget to bring their swimsuits sometimes.
On cold days, no doubt. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, Commissioner Greeley.
I'm just wondering about the condition of the pool facility. Did you guys recently did we recently do a renovation of the bathrooms and the changing rooms, or no?
Staff have been actively working, and I know Sarah has been kind of leading the charge herself as well, with some heavy deep cleaning of the bathrooms. There hasn't been necessarily construction that has occurred. Recently there was a closure due to some PG&E work that needed to occur, which was just for one day. But I will say Sarah and her team have really made every effort to improve upon cleaning efforts, and we've gotten lots of compliments from the community and noticing those changes, including adding mats, some new mats to the bathroom areas, and just the love and care and decorations that you'll see in the facility.
And what's the status on the heating? Are we changing over to as far as the facilities heating the pool, or was there was some major upgrade that needed to happen with the pool? What's the status with that?
Yes, so Public Works is championing the project of electrification of the pool boiler. That's the heating system for the pool. The unit that's there is surpassed its useful life and could, knock on wood, go out on us at any moment. But the Public Works team and our sustainability manager, Adrian Etherton, has been working on that project. They've been working closely with PG&E and their contractor. They are getting some additional outside funding. That's actually going to City Council in a couple of weeks for some of the rebate grant funding that they're going to be receiving for that project. So yes, it's in motion. We're hopeful maybe by early next year in the winter timeframe when we're not as busy, it's not our peak season at the pool, that can take place.
Is some of the pool heated with solar? No.
There is solar. I don't know a whole lot about that operating system. That's
Okay.
more of a Public Works thing.
I did also want to add that recently we did get a new pump for the pool, so a little bit pricier of about $10,000, but needed to keep the pool operational. And we do appreciate our partnership that we have with Public Works, who oversees all the operations and the maintenance of the pool. So just wanted to add that as well.
Well, I think that our pool is a really great asset. We fought hard to get it in this community, and it's, when you talk to people who don't live in Brisbane, they're like, "Oh, you guys have that great pool," so it really makes Brisbane kind of a destination for just a great outdoor pool. And if there's anything we can do as a committee to promote the maintenance and the upkeep of the pool, however that comes to be, we're open to that input. Or I'm open to, I'm not speaking for everybody, but yeah.
No, I agree. I mean, in context, the pool is 25% of our budget, somewhere around there. So it's a lot. I do hear often from people about how much they enjoy the pool. I guess the thing that I think as we're setting fees next year that I'd like us to consider is, we have 70% out of Brisbane using the pool for labs. I just want to make sure that we are mindful of that. And one of the things I've heard, for example, is that, some of our seniors would like to go to water aerobics, but they feel like it's too expensive and they can't afford it. And I do wonder about that, if there could be subsidies. If there's, do we offer senior discounts already?
Yes, the general fee for seniors and youth is lower than the adult fee. But for water aerobics, it's a contracted class. So those fees are set by the instructor. And then a portion of 80% of that goes to the instructor. So the water aerobics is a contracted class. So our instructor, Heidi Levinson, gets to set the fees, and 80% of the fees, those base fees collected, go to her because she is the person teaching the class.
I do wonder if there's a way we could subsidize a few seniors or work something out with Heidi, or I'd like to look at that. I'd like to think that any senior who wants to be in the pool and doing exercise would have the opportunity. I don't know. What you all think
maybe
about that.
maybe some kind of not scholarship, but like a
subsidy.
a subsidy.
Yeah.
That would be great if it was subsidized by the city and Heidi still got her fee.
Yes, exactly. We
You
don't
know.
want to. We don't want to make it so that Heidi isn't getting what is her due. Yeah, I would like to look into that. And the other thing is swim lessons, just confirming that if someone is unable to afford swim lessons, we subsidize. or is that true?
Because it's a city-run program, it is eligible for our fee waiver program.
Okay. Have we had any people?
I think we had one person this summer,
Okay.
but that also just only applies to Brisbane residents.
As it should, yeah. Okay, good.
And that would also be applied to the senior, right? The senior, no, just.
No, because that's a contractor-based program.
Got it, okay.
Well, thanks for having my son be the model for the Halloween program. That was very cute.
That was Nicole making that flyer.
As a parent with teens, the pool is really the heart of the town, and they've used it on and off forever. Thanks for that. How do we get a certified swim team?
That is a very good question.
I know a little bit about that, not too much. I know that we need to be able to have diving boards. Pretty sure we need to be able to have a coach that can be eligible, like just a coach who's certified to be. And I think that's about it. We also need probably about at least 13 kids, maybe 14 kids. I do get a lot of questions about that. People come up to me and they ask, "Oh, do you have a swim team here? We love the pool. We would love to be able to." And I always say we used to, so I know it's possible. I'm just not quite sure how. It's kind of out of my wheelhouse.
Yeah, it's definitely something that we have been asked to explore further. So we're still in process of that. Like you said, the diving blocks are, I think, one of our biggest challenges, just because we don't currently have those.
I'm not quite sure, but I'm pretty sure we could adjustable diving blocks might be an option. I know some pools use that, or that we could also even, use other pools sometimes for competition purposes. Also options.
Noreen, is that something we could add to like our upcoming meetings for the recreational facilities?
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
I guess the other thing I would just say is, I love how you make the swimming pool just relevant all seasons. We're having, something happening during Halloween and really instill a lot of fun into it. So I appreciate that and the creativity that goes into it.
Thank you. Anything else?
If I may, before we excuse Joseph and Sarah, I do want to acknowledge our aquatics leadership team for the diligence that they put into training our staff, because it is so important. They've really prioritized that. Every year we close the pool on Fridays during the week in the summer so that our staff can train, because there's nothing more important than them being fresh on their skills. We did have a rescue last week. It was an adult in deep water, and Kiki, our lifeguard, did a phenomenal job. Probably due in large part because she's fresh on her skills and she's prepared to respond in the event of an emergency. So I wanted to acknowledge Kiki and the job well done. Resuscitation didn't have to happen because she was very quick. So kudos to Kiki and all of our head lifeguards and Sarah and Nicole for being so diligent about training and being prepared to respond in the event of an emergency. Also, kudos to the whole lifeguard and aquatics team, because summer is difficult. They are open 7 days a week, all day long, in full heat. And with the recent heat wave the last couple weeks, we did hit max capacity at the pool a few days. And they just do such a phenomenal job fielding the public, keeping everybody safe, having a facility open for the public to use during heat wave times. So we're very fortunate to have the opportunity for our residents to use that facility, but our staff do a phenomenal job managing difficult situations in those moments when they're sitting out in that heat and guarding and ensuring everybody's safety too. So shout out to the team for all the great work that you guys do.
All right. Thank you so much. And with that, we will go on to old business. We first have, I think, an event debrief on coastal cleanup.
We sure do. And this usually falls on Jeff, but he can only be here in spirit tonight. But I am here physically, so I will go off of his notes here. So Coastal Cleanup Day, Marina recap. This happened back on the 21st of last month. 35 plus volunteers. This is the highest turnout in Jeff's almost 6 years with the city by a pretty good margin. 250 pounds of recyclables, that's an estimate. Also estimated was 200 pounds of waste. A lot of small trash, cigarette butts, bottle caps, and the like. Not anything too unusual, but our most unique items were a TV and an oven. Wow. So for San Mateo County, approximately 3,000 volunteers and 17,700 pounds of trash and recyclables collected. And then he also has the state's preliminary results here. With 60% of the cleanup sites reporting, the statewide count stands at 28,751 volunteers. Those volunteers picked up 242,312 pounds of trash. Wow. And an additional 12,461 pounds of recyclable materials. If you lost track, that's a total of 254,772 pounds or 127 tons. Volunteers gathered at beaches, shorelines, and inland waterways. That's how it went down.
I'll confirm that's how it went down.
Yeah, I just want to say I was there. Commissioner Kern was there. It was so well done. Like, this is my second year. It's so well organized. I love how it happens right before the regatta. So we spip the place up right before everybody gathers. And just, if you haven't done it, it's really fun. There were a lot of families out there with their kids. And so lots of generations together cleaning up the coast. And it's weird because the marina, when you're there, it doesn't seem like dirty. But then once you dig in, it's incredible. So thanks to everyone who put that on.
And I will 100% second that. And to the naked eye, it doesn't look that dirty, but once you're out there and you're digging around in the shrubbery and the natural environment, there's a lot of stuff out there. So, yeah, I'm glad we were able to clean that up.
All right, anything else on that before we go to Day in the Park and Derby? All right. Who wants to start?
Do you want me to give a quick overview?
Yeah.
Highlights. They were posted in today's blast. They're also posted on our Facebook page, along with a link to a Flickr photo album. So feel free to go and check out all the pictures. But we had over 40 vendors and community groups out there under tents in the park. Lots of entertainment for youngins with inflatables and rock climbing wall and trampoline. I think we had 23 derby racers, and it's just so much fun to watch them. Frank, thank you for being our finish line flagger for part of it. We appreciate you being out there. We had 4 people participate in the adult big wheel race. Dan Carter preserved his title as the champion this year. We'll see what happens next year. The cake, thank you, Lisa, for your efforts to coordinate the cake eating, decorating, baking competition. It seemed like there was really good participation, and the judges had fun. So that was wonderful. The kids' pie eating contest is always a hit. Despite the heat, I think it was a good turnout. I think people might have stayed longer if it wasn't so hot, but it was pretty miserable out there in the later afternoon. And we announced the Volunteer of the Year, Peter Grace. His family was there on hand to receive the award on his behalf. So overall, it was a really wonderful day of bringing the community together and celebrating what makes Brisbane great. So thank you all for your many contributions, and we appreciate all your help in making a really special event for the community. So I'll open it up to you. We'd love to hear what you feel, what worked well, what didn't, and how we can make it even better in the years to come.
I guess the one thing I will just say right off the bat is the city was there. Like everyone was out starting very early in the morning, setting up, and until it was over. And it was a very hot day, so kind of right back at all the staff who were there and made it happen. 40 booths is a lot to run point on. So thank you.
I was impressed with the food. Of course, the Lions showed up and did just a great job. I think our beverage truck was pretty successful, and the it was so hot. It was so hot. I think I'm still trying to figure out, like, could we, if we see this continuing? I mean, this is what, the third year in a row that it's been this beastly hot. If we could maybe think of some kind of water element that we could do that kids could run through, like a slip and slide. I don't know, just something to cool people off. I wanted, I know you guys explored the sprinkler idea or the mister idea, but just something to cool people off would be great. I know, the minute we do that, it's going to be cold, so it always works that way. But I think that the morning was great, and then people were just, anyways.
Yeah, I kind of second that. I think that, I found myself longing for like a slip and slide or sprinkler system or something to add for the kids and the adults to keep cool. So I think that should definitely be something we explore. Or just more tents, like if we could have like a whole tented shade area. I know as part of the Lions, we've been talking about that, like having more tents for people who are waiting in line for their food and just kind of preparing more for the heat. But it was so fun. I mean, so many good activities. I loved the cake baking contest, and I felt so privileged to be a judge because we have some amazing bakers.
Next year, cookies.
Yeah, so
I volunteer as judge.
Also really grateful to the city for setting up the Lions to serve alcohol this year. We did make, not including tips, $1,600. So that will all go for local youth scholarships. So that I think was successful as well.
And I think that you guys gathered the winning recipe for the cake. Did you get the winning recipe from the baker?
I don't have it personally, but I know
Okay.
that we know her and can get it.
Yeah.
And
because
it sounded
people
like she
really
was willing
asked-
to share.
Yeah, she was
Yeah.
willing to share. Was her grandmother's lemon vermouth cake, and it was amazing. She made a vegan version, so that was incredible. You couldn't even, like, who cares? It was fabulous. But yeah, this of us gathering recipes, I think that would be a really great thing to share with the community in the future. It's Frank's idea.
For a small donation to the summer concert series.
I wonder if the fire department can offer as need water systems, spray the hose from the parking lot.
That would be fun.
If I may, just some community feedback that I got. More water stations where people could actually get fresh water to drink. That was brought up a couple times. And then this was sort of a personal thing that I wanted to report out on. I felt like the band, and I'm not part of the subcommittee, but I feel like the band started a little bit later. And I don't know if that was by design, but I feel like if the band had started playing earlier, it would have drawn people in earlier in the day. But the band didn't come on until...
Late.
Yeah, a little bit later, and people were done, and it was pretty hot, and they were heading home. So I don't know, just some
The
feedback
band
on
was
that.
great, though.
They were great.
They
Yeah,
were
more
great.
bands. Yeah.
People really liked the band. Yeah.
More bands.
Thank you, Tom.
Anyone else?
I'd like to say something.
Yeah.
That park was beautiful at 5 o'clock when I left because I just came for 15 minutes. Too hot for me that day. But I was there at 3, and then I went home, got some more lemonade, went outside, and they were cleaning up, and by 5 o'clock, you couldn't tell anybody had ever been there. It's
Wow.
amazing what the staff does when everything's over. It was just, I went, oh my God, 5 o'clock, look at this. It was just beautiful.
Crazy. Wow.
Not one piece of paper, nothing. I mean, nothing. And Friday night, it was great walking out, you know, to have my tea on the balcony, and there's all these little sheds set up that I like. Oh my God, it's tomorrow. And then the next day, oh,
Hot.
it was just too hot. But I just couldn't believe how quickly they got that cleaned up. You know, for all the grief that people get working for the city, they work so hard
Yeah.
all the time.
Thank you for that.
You know, and then I went to I saw Linda Montenegro Deppner, and we're old friends. So we were talking, and I told her, I said, you know, I really want to thank your committee, Safety Streets, whatever it's called, for the work they're doing. That's a hard thing to do. And she goes, nobody ever says that. Could you say it? So I went over and told them, you should have seen the smiles. I think we need to do that more. When we come across other commission, we need to thank them for their work, because nobody realizes, you know, how hard it can be just to make a decision. And the looks on their face, they went, oh, thanks. You know, and I said, I'm not running for office. So I said, I just want to thank you for doing this, because really, you know, sometimes, you know, people are kind of suspicious, but they were so nice and so appreciative. You know, and it was nice to meet some other people in town too. So I just wanted to say, I think we should do that when we're doing things, is thank other people. You know, it makes a difference in the smile I got. It made me feel good, you know.
I love that. And I also think, you know, we get a lot of the fun stuff. So like some of the commissions and committees are working on, you know, stuff that isn't as visible. So really kind of talking to them and thanking them for their work makes the city work. Awesome.
Yeah, and I just again want to reiterate thanks to staff for being out there in the horrendous heat. I walk my dog constantly, as everyone knows. I saw you guys out there on Friday night. I got to see Nicole first thing bright and early on Saturday morning, and then when I walked on Saturday night and the whole place was cleaned up, and you guys were on your merry way. So you guys were out there, you put in the work, so thank you so much.
All right, so should we go on to the next item on the agenda, which is discussing the next steps for a potential Parks and Recreation Foundation? I think there was a meeting. Someone.
Yeah, so this is going to bleed a little bit into the subcommittee report, because the Foundation Feasibility Ad Hoc Subcommittee did meet, but I think it makes sense to have that conversation here under old business versus under the subcommittee in case other commissioners want to weigh in. So I'll defer to, Renee's not here tonight, and Tom unfortunately couldn't make the meeting, but I'm going to defer to Frank, who was present. Jeremy and I met with him and Renee to kind of talk about where the conversation was headed, and just generally speaking next steps, if that's something that there's a desire to pursue. So I'll turn it over to you.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Noreen. I think it's important that we have a discussion as a commission regarding the foundation. We had a pretty good session, I think. We talked about some of the primary research that this commission has already done in talking to other cities. Noreen gave us a firm reminder that if you have not turned in your notes, you need to get your notes to Noreen so she can coalesce them in one place so we can have those for future reference. Again, the primary research that we did was reaching out with a questionnaire to foundations in other cities on the peninsula just to get an idea of how they started, what some of their work to date was, what their vision statement was, things along those lines. So we'll create that sort of repository, and we'll have that to refer to. Some of the action items, not only for the subcommittee, but for the commission as a whole. We want to start reviewing other foundation mission statements for inspiration at a much deeper level of detail. We were talking about how the foundation might benefit Brisbane, both in terms of very small projects, hey, somebody needs a new printer or something along those lines, to very large projects, which we might refer to as like a legacy project. And so we want to make sure that the foundation is able to accommodate both those small and large-scale projects. Some of the considerations that we walk through are we'd have to create a separate board, create and appoint a separate board for the foundation. That wouldn't fall under the Park and Recs Commission's purview. We'd have to develop bylaws. We'd have to consult with legal. We'd have to make sure that we establish a 501c3 status, and we might actually have to bring in a consultant to help us get this set up. So at this point in time, we can talk about it now and just have a sort of a high-level discussion. I think that all the board or all the commission members here are on board with trying to create a not-for-profit arm for funding park and recreation, but I just want to hear other people's opinions at this point in time. No one hates it?
Well, what's next steps? I
Through the
guess?
chair, I think that, you know, we've all agreed and just throughout this year, when this idea has come about, we've seen so many opportunities where we could have raised money and how more engaged we could be with our community in getting something like this going. You know, I mean, people fundraising and going to events and fundraising for park and rec amenities that we just can't seem to get funded is just exciting, and I think everybody who hears about it is ready to do it. But I also, you know, there are two parts to this. You know, there's kind of the boots on the ground volunteers that we'll need to organize eventually, and then there's the board and the whole umbrella of the nonprofit. But I kind of see the, shall we call them the Friends of the Park and Rec Foundation, as a group of people that we could not easily, but, you know, that I think we could get some avid community leaders to join in, and this could be a really galvanizing thing to get people more involved in their park and rec department. So anyways, there you go.
Yeah, I mean, I think the way I think about it is, I love this idea. It is a lift. Like, it's a big lift to start a nonprofit. And there's got to be someone who's actually all in leading it. I think the money that we're leaving on the table potentially is like some of the residents who want to give back, who are very aware that they pay lower fees than they do in most cities and would love the opportunity to support. But I think we have to identify those people. I feel like we need a group that's beyond us to help lift this off, and someone who really, like, or a few people who want to take ownership of it. And I'd like to have them in at the ground floor when you're doing the mission vision, establishing the 501c3. I guess that's, so I guess what I'm saying in a very roundabout way is, can we find people? Like, is that a next step? Like, we each identify a couple of people who want to be involved in this movement.
That's a great idea. When I retire from here, I'll certainly be on that board. Can we get your cup on camera? No, joking. I see it as not really a individual kind of place for money. I see it as big money, big business money.
Yeah.
To get things done quickly. I don't know if it's worth it to just look at the individual level. So the vision I've always had is corporation money. And to move things quickly here.
That's a good point.
I think, may I also, with Frank's notes, also that another thing that stuck out was a consultant, right? Like, who's going to lead the charge? How do we get started? And I know we did a lot of, the team did a lot of research and interviews, but where do we go from here? Is like, where do we know, like, what are we looking at investment-wise, timelines? Because it is like a full-time gig to start out with.
I guess the other thing I'll say is, and perhaps this is just naivete on my part, but I'm not sure that we need a consultant if we had like someone who is dedicated to this. I don't think it is that difficult to start a nonprofit. But I do think there's manpower. Like, it's got to be someone who's leading the charge. So maybe that's our next step, is just having like identifying people who want to be involved.
The board.
The
Yeah,
board.
Putting together a board. I think
Yeah.
that's how you get started.
And then I'm picturing like step one, just identify the people who really are passionate about this and want to be involved. And then step two is kind of getting everyone together and going through the mission and the vision and deciding who has the opportunity to actually put some real legwork in this. Noreen, Nicole, anything?
Well, we're reiterating the same thing that you said, that you might not need a consultant if you had some dedicated folks who are really willing to champion this forward. There are a lot of resources online. I sent the subcommittee some links. It's not, we're not recreating the wheel here, right? This is something that exists all throughout San Mateo County, throughout the state of California, even nationally. But Nicole and I were just saying that we could possibly help identify some park and rec advocates that might also be interested. And I think if we can come back collectively as a group, maybe kind of vet these people and see what their level of commitment could be over the next year or so, then that might be a starting point.
Something to chew on. I was at the school board debate the other night, and there's a huge demand for a TK, an official TK school for Brisbane, and silver spots up there, and who knows, maybe collaborating with them. But again, big corporate money. People want a TK. Kids need a TK, especially English learners, and there's a huge demand for it. So anyway, something to chew on.
I have a thought.
Go for it.
Boom. First, before we do anything, let's let the citizens know what we're trying to do. We're talking about it among ourselves, but people out there don't know anything, so we need kind of an advertising campaign, marketing campaign to let people know. You know, what I'm trying to say is let people know what's going on. You know, there seems to be a division sometimes between what happens down in here and what happens out there. They're like, oh, I didn't know about that. Oh, I didn't watch the meeting, and I can understand that. I never used to either.
Well, even if you
So-
watch the meeting, it'd be nice to have it really spelled out and presented
that's
in a
what I
way
mean.
that
Yeah.
people
Understand, you know,
and
what
maybe
we're
get
trying to
involved.
accomplish.
Yeah.
Because you never know who's going to go, oh, that sounds good. Oh, I can do that.
All right, you, my marketing leader, you and I, let's go.
That sounds good. I can
We're-
do that.
That's coming. I think that's coming and exciting. Exciting times when we have a mission and a goal and things that we want to do that's clear, that people can get behind.
Yeah, they buy in then. You know, it's like, oh, that sounds good. Oh, I could do that.
And we just roll the logo, watch the money pour in.
Yeah, just watch the money pour in. Is it possible for us to put something on the website, the city's website, like status to date on where we're at? Again, we're not committing to anything. All we have right now is a concept, but just defining the concept that we have.
Yeah, we could dedicate a page to the idea and then populate it with content as it becomes available as you are traversing the process. There's also a platform through the city's website called Engage. If we wanted to actively solicit information from people or preferences or interest from people, we could potentially utilize that as well.
Got it. Okay, great.
Yeah, and this would be a great way to have people think about how they could give to this fund in the future somehow. You know, maybe somebody knows the owner of Google, you know, and anyways, just putting it out there, getting the mission out there will hopefully help bring in the money, which is what this is all about.
I don't have anything else to report out on from the Foundation Feasibility Subcommittee meeting. Any other questions?
The only thing I would say is, should we all just kind of make it a goal to do some outreach before the next meeting, if possible? I know it's a super busy time, so maybe it's better to say before the end of the year. And kind of hope to start January with that group of names that we can start getting together with and formulating this. And yeah, putting something out publicly.
I think I would do that first.
Yeah.
Actually do that first and let everybody know what we're doing. Hey, are you in?
Are you interested?
Yeah, I would like us all to have the same tool to point to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good idea.
Someone to write our mission statement.
Yeah.
Volunteer.
This is what I do for a living. Very happy to help with those things, yes.
I was thinking, you know, there's all kinds of things that kind of pop up around this, but I saw a T-shirt the other day that just really encapsulated Park and Rec. It just said, "Play sports, make friends." You know, and it's just, isn't that what it's all about?
Yeah.
It's just getting together with people and doing Park and Rec. You're just going to make friends because you're doing great stuff together. So.
Okay. Awesome. Anything else on that before we move on? We have no new business, but we are on reports. No report from me. Let's go now to the subcommittees. The first one is we had a Festival of Lights subcommittee meeting. I was in it. Trudy was in it. Shall we do a report out, Trudy?
Go ahead. Bring my notes on that.
You can chime in.
Yeah, you can chime in. I'm
Okay.
going from memory too, so we'll see what we can do. And of course, we had staff there. It was a great meeting. A couple of things that were really exciting. We had several members of the IDEA committee who were involved and offered their perspective on what we can do to have a really just inclusive Festival of Lights. We also had Jojo and his wife Erin, who did the lights last year, and they have all kinds of ideas,
Yeah, that's exciting.
which is just so cool. So I think, you know, we'll have all kinds of lights like last year and maybe even up the ante. We talked a bit about creating kind of a map so that people can know where all of the things are, because if you get there, you might not know all of the cool things that are happening. So we talked about that a bit. We talked about creating another kind of Instagrammable photo op situation. And so that will happen. Lots of really good ideas all the way around. We talked about singing, you know, again, looking to the students to add to the event. I think Frank and Natalie, I don't know, I think you were there too, that's right. We kind of volunteered you to be our co-hosts again.
Yes, and I think, so for this year, we were thinking of inclusivity, right? Of everybody, not everybody celebrates Christmas, not everybody celebrates, you know, there's a lot of holidays going on. So what we were thinking of is having one theme for the year. I think it was peace. Yes, peace. So we're gonna be thinking of ideas around that. Having the same format, a map, photo booths, and then Santa Claus as well. But we're trying to incorporate everybody's holiday season for this, for the Festival of Lights.
It's such a good point to bring that up, like just, you know, and brightness. There was something about lights, and so I think that'll be a broader theme. Trudy, anything we missed?
Oh, cookies. How many cookies do we need?
I know,
Lots
we
of
talked about
cookies.
individually wrapped cookies, right?
Yeah,
and
so how
hot
many
chocolate
cookies do
has
we
been-
need is what I want to know.
More than last year is what we
Yeah,
talked
we-
about.
A lot is a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did about 400 cookies last year, and we ran out of
And we
them.
want them wrapped in parchment paper. We talked
Right.
about that.
Hopefully,
we
yeah,
got
if we
the
can
plastic.
avoid plastic, that would be
So you
awesome.
need 400 cookies.
More than four. We're probably up to like
They need to
600.
be wrapped up. Can they be in
this point.
platters?
Thank
and
you.
people just
We need
grab
our
them?
foundation, yes.
We,
And I wasn't there last year, so we will need at least 400 cookies.
400, so that means 600. So
Yeah,
what do you
and
give them
I
out
will
two at a
say-
time, or
one.
I never take cookies.
We used to have them, we used to serve them like on platters and people could
did,
pick and choose. And then COVID happened and people were sensitive to germs.
Uh-huh.
At which point we started individually wrapping. So we can certainly explore other alternatives for this year, but I think people do appreciate the individual
Yeah, 'cause
feeling
I've
like
been
it's safe
checking on
because it's
that.
sealed. So
Yeah.
we can look at alternatives.
And the
I said
cook,
we can get, parchment paper sleeves.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Because I used to
Yeah.
sell it, so.
the cookies
I had a
were
thing about
really,
paper, but parchment paper cookies, you'd be 2 in each and you can just put it in there that way and hand it to them,
Oh, that's
and then, who bakes the cookies? Because we have bakers here in town.
Costco, probably.
We used last year, or the
Yeah.
2 years prior, we used
A local baker.
local
We
baker.
used a local baker the last couple years. Prior to that, we used a wholesaler out of South San Francisco. What's the
Oh.
baker's name?
the baker, well, Simply Sweet,
Simply Sweets is her business.
but we
Okay.
actually
Because we
couldn't
have
do
3
it
different
last
catering
year.
companies in town I've discovered that would do cookies for us, so.
If you want to send their contact information to us, we'd be happy to reach
yeah,
out to
let's
them.
look at that.
I will.
1,000 cookies.
1,000 cookies, okay.
And again,
500 for
1,000.
Tom and then 500 for the.
Okay.
Oh, and then he wants okay, so 1,500, you're up to 1,500, how about 2,000?
Can we get 2,500?
Only if you dress in a Cookie Monster costume.
Natalie?
I can do that.
Anything else on that? I know we have Derby Day and the park subcommittee. I know that meeting happened and then
Then
the event happened. Any report out on that, or should we just move on to the foundation feasibility? We kind of covered that. Senior subcommittee meeting. So yeah, we had a wonderful time meeting with our seniors. We attended the lunch, Frank, Trudy, and I, and then we met and we used the lunch to just get lots of great feedback on what they'd like to see. And then we discussed it right afterward, which was great, while it was all fresh in our mind. And I don't know if one of you wants to recap or if I can. How do you want to do it? Frank, do you want to start?
You can go ahead, and I think Trudy and I will add, our favorite highlights of the meeting. It was a really sort of creative and successful meeting, I think.
I'd like so too.
Yeah. I think for me, one of the ideas was actually your idea, Frank, that really stood out, which was just, getting a group of seniors together. And I think that's, Trudy, you agreed, like having kind of a senior committee.
Subcommittee.
Subcommittee.
That would tell us what they want instead of us
Telling them. So I think that would be really helpful.
Advisory committee.
Yeah,
The
an
senior
advisory
advisory, like
committee.
we have our youth advisory committee. The senior advisory committee. It's a good
And
idea.
I've already thought of 2 people from that meeting that would be good for it.
I love that. I think just, making sure our seniors have a good voice and in what we're doing, just like we do with the youth. It's always helpful to hear directly from those you're serving. The other thing I think we talked about, just some things, some feedback we got basically from the seniors, the kinds of activities they'd like to see, the kinds of things they appreciate. The lunch was amazing, by the way. I think everybody agreed that the food was great. And yeah, I think just getting more information so that whatever the seniors want to do, we're investing in the right things. Anything else? I'm going just on memory.
Yeah, I will also confirm that the lunch was amazing. Great job to staff. It was really delicious. Yeah, I'm just going through some of the notes that we had here, and some of the things that we were thinking through is considering some sort of like a texting opt-in program for senior communications, very specifically. So keeping them informed that way of things that were going on. And I think a big takeaway, and this is a really amazing group of people. Let me recap. It was Julie, Trudy, Jeff Branco, Ricardo, and Noreen. We all got together. We sat outside and we just brainstormed. And there was no shortage of ideas that day. We were all feeling extremely creative, I think. But a specific topic came up where we said, we don't always need to lead the charge as a city in creating programs, events, and different things like that. We just need to know where they're at and provide the the information and potentially transportation to get seniors to those events. So that's something we really should focus on going forward. And that was one of the big takeaways that I had, so.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Like, one of the things we talked about is like, there's, seniors aren't cohesive as a group. They all don't want necessarily all of the same things. So like making sure our programs appeal to different types of people, just as we do with everyone, right? We have, for the community, we have some sports people, we have more art type of people, and the same is true with our seniors. And then the other thing we talked about, which I think is just like helping with some pragmatic things that you need as you get older. So making sure that everybody has access to the tech support they need, and anything that just may make life easier, so that we can have people stay in Brisbane and feel really engaged. And the other thing we talked about is purpose, and how a lot of our seniors really want to help. And we may be not tapping them as much as we could be as a resource to help with some of our citywide initiatives. In fact, maybe our friends at the park. Any other?
Oh, she has an idea.
Trudy?
Oh, yeah, I was just thinking.
Go ahead.
Would it be presumptuous if I started going to the meetings, because I don't go to the senior luncheons, and start trying to implement some of these ideas that you put down that I keep going through this, like, yeah.
What are some of the ideas that you really liked?
One of them actually was having seniors provide the Santa letter responses.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just letting them know, like, I didn't know that much about, was it the woman that I met Saturday? I met a lot of people Saturday in 20 minutes. About things that happen here in town, like Brisbane Dance Workshop, things like that. People might want to go see that. I mean, if you grew up dancing like I did, you love it. And letting them know that this is coming up, perhaps have Camille come and talk to them was one thing. Another one was utilizing the train for senior trips and excursions. Because so I have to contact that Christina, who I don't know, but whatever, I'll find out. She's the one who seems to know everything and has like an overview of the whole situation with the trains. But that might be fun, just to go somewhere and have lunch and come back. And I'm not trying to, take over from Teresa or anything, but maybe just be there and say, hey, this is what's going on, and would you like to do that? We talked about also how to get word out to the non-participating seniors. And the staff had a good idea of, putting something in the lunches. I didn't know 70 people in this town get lunches. They're delivered. I'm like, there's people we
How
could
often?
get once a week.
Wow, that's
on
nice.
Mondays.
Yeah.
See, they don't come down. They say, they're up on the hill, whatever that means.
Yeah.
But I just think we need to communicate more to them. I mean, I'm a senior. I don't know what's going on half the time.
I'm not.
I love that. Like, and just kind of Noreen, Nicole, like, could Trudy be our liaison for this while we're getting started?
Yeah, we would welcome that. And I know that you've been an active participant with the Age Friendly Cities initiative. So I think you are the perfect person to do that. And we would,
Yeah.
I
By
think
all
it'd be
means.
great to have your voice at those engagements, just to get the pulse of the group and what their interests are. And then you could report back. I think that would be
Yeah.
wonderful.
That'd be
And
awesome.
another thing, I've been talking to people. Is it legal to play poker? Senior meetings, no money, but not everybody does bingo.
Oh, I
don't
have
do
chips.
bingo,
I
but
have
I will
chips, yeah.
sit down at a poker.
Yeah.
table in a
I'll
heartbeat.
join you. I have chips.
I love
You
that
don't
I've
need
had
idea.
money.
5 people say, I don't do bingo, but I'd stick around for poker if you could figure out a way to do it.
That would be great. Yeah.
Poker night. Yeah.
The other
I think
thing
as long as it's not active gambling with like money exchange, but poker, yeah, a lot of people play.
Chips. I got my thing of chips,
Oh, perfect. Okay.
Yeah,
Chips.
chips. That's all you
Thing
need.
I will say, and just for the public, whomever is paying attention, like you are eligible to go to the senior lunches when you're 55. So I am, yes, exactly. So
There.
definitely something worth exploring.
And when are the senior lunches?
They're every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday.
At noon?
Yes.
Oh,
The community center.
oh, that's exciting.
Trudy, we should invite them here when you get your group. Invite them to one of our meetings.
Oh, yeah, I'll pick them
Yeah.
up.
That'd be great.
So at the community center where the old library
Yeah.
was? Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah,
see, I didn't know that.
downstairs. Yeah,
I didn't know
see?
that. I'm
Would
62.
that be
I should
okay?
go.
I mean, I'm not trying to take over from Teresa or anything like that. I don't want any part of that, but,
No, no,
you
no.
know,
No, we would appreciate that.
Everybody likes cooperation
Yeah.
and help.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Yeah.
yeah.
No, thank you.
No, I
Thank
mean-
you, Trudy, for volunteering.
Yeah,
That's
thank you for
awesome.
stepping up. That's amazing. And I just want to call out that it was Jeff Franco's idea to promote the any events or information within the lunches. That was a
Yeah.
really strong idea.
Oh, and then also, one little tip that I learned, that if you're a member of the Friends of the, or is it, you're a friend of, you're a
Friend of the-
member of the library,
Yeah,
Friends-
the library
friends-
card.
you get 24 copies a day.
This is true. I have experienced. Yes.
She told us that. I wrote it right. That's the one thing I remembered.
You get free copies if you are a library member. Yes. So, and you can actually just email the library and come get your copies.
Wow. That's cool.
That's cool, huh?
That's cool
Yeah.
because not everybody has printers at home.
Oh.
Yeah.
There goes the Kinko's business.
And also that there are notary services at City Hall, which people don't know. I see all the time on anybody know a notary?
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
know? I mean,
Yeah.
little tips like that,
Did
you know, we could present to them just to make them feel like you're part of everything instead, oh, I'm a senior.
Yeah.
Well, also, I mean, I don't want to single seniors out because there are a lot of people in town who need help. But yeah, I've met some seniors in town that are struggling. You know, struggling with their rent, with their food, and you know, it's hard to reach those people if they feel cut off. And so just you know, I would feel horrible if I knew that there was a senior that wasn't getting the support. I think this community jumps in. We have helping hands, we have lots of groups, but connecting them and somehow,
Right, that's it.
yeah,
letting
it's
know.
just about making people, you know, finding out what they need. This is what you said.
I did want to add as well, as part of our age-friendly kind of action plan that we're putting together, one of the elements being communication that we're working on is having like an age-friendly element of the blast. Like we have our art beat, we have our different sections there. So Trudy, again, if there are things that then come up from those conversations, that those can then get included into there as part of that. And then we do have a bulletin board that is in the community center as well. So if there are flyers or additional information, sometimes we'll put our stuff on there. But if there's other information that people are wanting to see on there, we can utilize that as well.
Yeah,
Do
and also,
electronic bulletin board would be amazing. With all this stuff
oh,
coming
I
up.
gotta find somebody for that.
Yeah.
Because we did come up with a senior corner in the Star. Thought that'd be a good idea.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Because last night I got 3 calls from people about the sound baths.
Oh.
And they were told to call me, and I said, I know nothing about them. My daughter does them, but she does them in Washington. I just- And something like that, you know, if we talked about to the seniors beforehand and said, you know, and I could explain it, you know, a little bit, I think we could get more participation.
I am looking forward to hearing more about the sound bath at the staff report. And I know we've got some to get to, but thank you for arranging that. Thank you, Trudy, for volunteering to be our liaison.
Sure.
I know next we have to set up subcommittee meetings.
Before we do that, we're going to have the subcommittee report out for public art.
That's right, the
Yes.
one we added to the agenda.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Well, also the Public Art Advisory Committee,
It was just yesterday,
Met
so
yesterday,
it should be
yes.
fresh.
and it was very exciting. We got to actually look at proposed art for our first project, which is the stairway between Alvarado and San Benito. it's a small space, but we have actually chosen some artists that we are excited to unveil. I don't know when we're going to be, I guess we have to contact the artists. They have to come back with their more detailed before we can blast out who they are and all that.
Well, your meeting yesterday was a public meeting and was
okay.
recorded, so you can say who they are. But the next steps is I'm meeting with one of them tomorrow, and then they'll come back to meet with the Public Art Committee to flesh out further details, and then that would go to City Council for their award of contract in early November.
Well, now I want to know who it is.
Okay. Okay, well, it was very exciting. In fact, do I have pictures? I don't. I should have. Wait a minute. Give me a minute.
Can I weigh in?
Yeah.
So Noreen has fast-tracked this thing through quickly because we have to
Yes.
work in unison with Public Works. And
Yeah.
this is going to be a great model for us working creatively with Public Works to combine funds
Yes.
and use funds actually way more efficiently than we would otherwise and make improvements creative. And this is going to be an incredible first run for our team.
Yeah,
It's been
and
great.
so I'll just describe because I don't have the pictures, but I'm sure you can see them online.
I
No?
can forward you the links to the two artists.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, there were two artists that we all pretty much agreed on that we really liked their work. One was a mosaic artist who's going to do mosaics on the risers of the steps as they go up, starting with like a meadow scene, going into the hills, and then ending up in the starry sky and the moon at the top. Very cool. So as you're walking up, you'll see this progressive mosaic mural on the steps. That's one thing. And the other part was some very interesting metal lights that will come up, and I don't know if he's got the exact design, but it's going to be, tree-like sculptures and metal vines and beautiful sculptures on the railings that's going to go along those boring railings that we have all over town. These will be really fun and really beautiful. I think they'll blend in well, but also just be a really nice bright spot that people really want to go see. Like, oh, have you seen the mosaic as you go up the thing? I mean, that's just going to be fabulous. And it's also really exciting. We got a lot of submissions for this. Was it an RFP? Is that what it's called? Yeah, we got a lot of submissions. We saw a lot of great art. It was kind of hard to choose and narrow it down. But in the future, we have like some really great muralists, some really great metal sculpturists, some really great people who can do walls, who can do, barriers, who can do mosaics. And I'm just thinking of Firth Park and some other projects that we have coming up that we can throw some art at, and it's going to be great. Plus, we get that money from Public Works. Like if they're going to do lights, the money that would have been spent on the lighting, we now get really cool lights, made by an artist, but we get some money from Public Works also for that.
This is a very opinionated and beautifully opinionated group. And I think they brought pillows and snacks for us to be there all night.
Yes,
and
they
right? And so we got through it very quickly with coming to terms with the two best,
And there was
which
a
was
list.
hopeful.
Where are the two from? Do we know?
They're Bay Area, yeah.
Local.
Which was kind of we were surprised to see that at the end. We're like, whoa, they're both locals. So, anyway.
So they're easily able to come and see and say, because the idea is they weren't really willing without getting the contract to go too far in their design, which makes sense, but looking at their portfolios of what they've done in the past, and they're saying we can do this, then the design will go forward and they'll come out and look at the site, and it's just really exciting. So
What is that we learned? We learned something about the proposal, like not having people quote or.
Yeah, so there is a difference for artists between an RFQ, which is a request for qualifications, versus an RFP, which is a request for proposal. It's more customary now to push out an RFQ because essentially you're just soliciting an artist based on their aesthetic and what they're capable of doing, referencing their previous work, but not asking them to fully bake a proposal, which is not really what we want anyways, based on our implementation guidelines and our public art ordinance, because we have public process involved in that. And so there needs to be an opportunity for the public to weigh in. So moving forward, we will be publishing RFQs and not RFPs, but it is helpful to have a general idea of the artist's conceptual design for the project.
Or how they see, I mean, as an artist, I would not want to put forth a fully idealized proposal without input from the client. Then you're just kind of shooting in the dark, and it might not be exactly appropriate for what you're doing. Also, it's work. You know, sitting and thinking about an idea, an artistic idea, is work. So you're asking for somebody to work for free before they've even gotten a contract. So it's more fair, and it's also more productive.
And what they do as an industry practice is if you put out an RFQ and say say you're just looking for a muralist and you like 3 muralists who have bid the project or submitted, their qualifications, you could then go back to them and say, we'll give each artist a stipend of $5,000 to develop a proposal, because then they're being paid for their time and their work. And then from there you could select an artist.
This sounds incredibly ethical.
Well, it was kind of a no-brainer, but I think one of the artists sent a letter to the city explaining the difference and saying, hey, you're really kind of asking people to work for free, and the way this is usually done is blah blah blah. And I'm like, oh, that makes so much more sense. It really does, but it just wasn't what we were told to do. So next time, we know how it works.
Solid learning. That's a solid learning. Thanks for reporting that out.
Anything else on that report? Before we go to setting up our subcommittee
No,
meetings?
we have, is this last? Oh yeah, subcommittees first, okay.
All right, subcommittee meetings.
I know Festival of Lights, Nicole sent out a couple of potential dates, but we'd be looking to schedule that subcommittee.
Subcommittee.
Anything else imminent that we need to?
Well, there is something that was discussed at the last city council meeting, which was the funding for the trails and the funding for what was the other thing?
Mission Blue, but I don't want to create conversation here because it's not on the agenda. I'm happy to share it under my department report.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Because I think that might need to facilitate some more committee meetings. That's why I brought it up. Like maybe a trails development meeting. I don't know.
Or would that fall under, let's see, recreational facilities, trails development? Trails development seems like.
Yeah, it seems like we've never
the
had
right
a
one.
trails development. Maybe that's maybe after you talk about that, we'll set a date for that.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that all then for now? All right, fellow commissioners, do you have any reports?
I'd like to ask something.
Yeah.
First, Joe Sully was here last meeting and requested development of the pathway from Humboldt Road to Linning Way. And then that gentleman, Tom Hines, proposed classes for Go and 3D printing. Did we send him anywhere, or just thanks for the information and see you later? Did we say, go to the library, go to YAC, whatever?
For which individual?
For the 3D and the Go printing, because he was talking about it, related.
We haven't spoken to him since, but we can reach out and see if he's interested in proposing a class for the winter session.
Yeah.
That would be the next opportunity. because we've already
Don't-
started the fall.
Don't we have a 3D printer at the
The
library?
library does, yeah,
Yeah.
so we can put him in contact with the person at the library too.
Oh, he does? Okay,
Yeah,
great.
he seemed to know about that one. I think he was
Yeah.
looking to,
Yeah. He was looking to do classes or
Yeah.
something like that.
Okay,
And if somebody wants to volunteer, I mean, grab them.
yeah. And what was, Joe was looking for? Oh, yeah.
About development of a pathway between an old shortcut, really is what it is.
What it is.
Between Humboldt and Linning Way. So I think we told him to talk to Public Works.
And he talked to me.
Okay,
Yeah, so I met up with Joe,
Okay.
and he gave me a tour of the parcel of land he's referring to. And it goes from Humboldt down to Lenning Way, or up from Lenning Way to Humboldt, depending on which direction you're going. And we did actually walk the path itself. I did reach out to Noreen, and I know that the city is doing a little bit of research right now on who owns that actual parcel and is it city property, and what a project might look like to not only clear that, but actually make that into a usable passage.
it was a shortcut, you're absolutely right.
It was. It
Yeah.
was a shortcut when I was a kid. I mean,
I've
all our
used it.
trails were shortcuts.
Yeah,
The one you're working on now is our shortcut to our friend's house. She lived up there and we were on Alvarado.
that's funny.
Noreen, do you have anything to add to that? No? Okay, thank you.
all right. How about staff reports?
Oh, okay, great. Hello, commissioners. So starting off with our classes and program reports, registration is open for our Thanksgiving and winter break camps. Thanksgiving is November 25th to the 27th, and winter break, we're trying something different. We're going to offer one day for the first week, which is the 23rd. We had lower enrollment for that first week, so trying that one day, and then the 30th to the 3rd, an almost full week of camp there. We did offer a sound bath class, and we utilized the sunrise room. Tiffany was also at Day in the Park and was able to engage with community members as well, which was great. We had 8 enrolled, which, as you know, for a class here in Brisbane, if you go over the 5 threshold, is wonderful for a first-time class. So received some emails of folks that expressed their appreciation for the class and those who attended. Renee actually walked by right as we were about to start, and it was just really cool to be able to utilize that space for another alternative offering. Similar to some of the conversations we've been having, we are going to be offering a Grand Friends program, and we have our first one starting on the 24th, and so some seniors are going to be able to engage with our preschool program. And so there's a couple of dates that are planned, but then those seniors can come in and we'll have either an activity planned, which this first one is Halloween themed. So I think they're doing something with relation to pumpkins. And then there's a couple of others specifically planned for the fall, but geared toward our intergenerational programming. So more to come there. If you have seen in the blast and on our social media pages and also at Day in the Park, Rec was there, the group that is launching the platform to be able to have tennis and pickleball rentals, as well as instructors through their platform. And so that opened on the 7th for reservations and class offerings to begin. They're also going to be having a kickoff event the 15th and the 16th, and there's going to be some raffle prizes and just another educational opportunity for the community to be aware. Ricardo's been working with some of our ongoing pickleball and tennis contacts to make sure that they're aware, and that does not replace our pickleball social club that already occurs. We've blocked out that timing, so that continues. But we have had folks that have expressed interest in wanting to have pickleball instruction, and this is a way to do it because it's a platform that works alongside like San Francisco. So it's some instructors that necessarily aren't contracted with our department, but able to kind of utilize those instructors, and that's for kids and adults and teens as well. Another new program, which I also recall Trudy one time asking about a program similar to this, so I think you'll be excited to hear, a trash grabber program launching. And so let me see here. I have my notes. I don't know.
That came out of a meeting that the commission was involved in with Open Space and Ecology and the Youth Advisory Committee. So it's one of the outcomes that Adrian is managing that program.
And so with that, the grabber program will be offering free trash grabber kits. And then they will have 3 locations. So City Hall, Marina, and the pool. And then there'll be signage to promote. There'll be materials for trash grabbers, plastic bags, plastic gloves, and it's all in an effort to kind of put it back to the community on if you see something, go on and help us out with that as well. So more information to come, but there was a blurb that was included in the most recent blast today. So, and they were also at Day in the Park as well to share. Moving along, just letting you know, there was an event put on by the Center for Age-Friendly Excellence, Loneliness to Light event that took place in Redwood City. I had the privilege of being there to speak on behalf of Brisbane and some of the intergenerational programming that we've done, as well as there was a doctor that was there who spoke to loneliness and her studying of loneliness and all the great work that San Mateo County Dave Canepa's group has done to really highlight that loneliness is an issue and that should be highlighted. So wanted to just share out to that. And then finally, some upcoming events that we have. Parents Night Out is occurring on October 19th, which that is a busy day in the community because that's also the Spooky Splash, which occurs earlier in the day. The Lions Club will be hosting a pumpkin patch, which is why we did do the pivot of the underwater pumpkin patch so as not to have dueling pumpkin patches in the community. And then October 28th is our Halloween event that the Youth Advisory Committee champions. So that will continue to be out under the gazebo again. And then, of course, our Festival of Lights is approaching on December 8th.
Amazing.
And finally, I'll speak to what Lisa mentioned earlier. So we had a city council meeting last week. Frank and Lisa were both present. One of the items on the agenda was presented by our finance director. In summary, I mean, you're welcome to go back and watch the meeting for more description than I'm prepared to provide currently. But in summary, there were some funds that were remaining from COVID relief that could be utilized or allocated towards certain things that met criteria. And so city staff put forward a variety of projects that would meet that criteria to utilize that funding. The city council had a discussion about it. Ultimately, they decided to fund a couple of things relative to park and recreation. One of those being the environmental study for the Crocker Trail. So that funding will be utilized to conduct the CEQA study for Crocker Trail, which allows us to move forward with the implementation of the master plan, as well as solicitation of grants to fund those things. So that's something that I will be working on the coming months, and I'm happy to schedule a trails subcommittee meeting as it makes sense to do so that we can have that ongoing dialogue about the process moving forward, but that is very exciting. And then the second project being Mission Blue, having a consultant kind of do a preliminary design and review of the existing conditions of the facility and identify where we feel we can improve the facility in terms of functionality and safety. One of the areas that has been highly discussed amongst the commission, but also in the community, is the kitchen and how it is inadequate for hosting events for up to 400 people. And so we would potentially be working with a consultant that would assist city staff with looking at the building and identifying how to level it up and kind of bring it up to where we hope it could be to maintain it as a high quality facility. I should provide the disclaimer that funding is for the design services only, not for construction. So the recommendation would have to go back to city council, and then they would have to make a determination whether or not to fund those improvements.
That is some great news. I would say with regard to Mission Blue, it would be interesting to kind of also consider, and it's probably a different type of consultant or the city, what kind of money we could potentially make if we were to do improvements and made it just a better site, a better experience for those who rent it. Awesome. All right. now we come to commission matters, written communication, and I do believe we had one.
We did, submitted by, well, it says anonymous, but they did provide their first name as Victoria. They reached out through the contact a commission/committee web form. And they also included an image of a Rainbow Bridge Memorial for pets, and just putting out the idea of having something like that here in Brisbane. And hopefully everyone got to see that beforehand.
Is that an art commission?
Can I?
Yeah. Lisa.
Super easy to do. We have the bridge.
Yeah, it's
We
right
all
over
know where the bridge is. It's that little bridge that goes over off of Quarry Park Road, or park that I think the city owns. I mean, I think this would be awesome. Full love. The only other thing I might say along these lines is that I would hate to, I mean, I love this idea. Let's just go with I love this idea and we have the bridge. Let's do it. But there has been talk around town among other people about just memorials for people who have passed in Brisbane, and having like using kind of the upper orchard as a memorial garden. They have something like it in Pacifica in one of their parks, and it's just people making little memorials to people who passed. And I don't know how to get that off the ground. I've been asked by neighbors, can we do this? And I've said, I don't know how to do this, but I certainly will bring it up, because I think memorializing pets, this is easy, this is great, but can we memorialize people also? I don't know, just throwing it out there.
So we could certainly agendize that for future discussion. I will also add that the city does have an existing memorial bench and plaque policy.
Yeah.
So that's something that the commission could review again within the context of that conversation.
Okay.
I would like that, because I think what you're describing, Lisa, is like a place where people to actually be while they think about people in general in the community who have passed. And then there is the animal, like the pet thing, and they strike me as kind of different, but,
Yeah, they're different.
but often like could go together. So it would be a good conversation. I'd love to gather more feedback about that too.
Yeah, me
Yeah.
too. I just, this is just such a no-brainer. This would be easy to do, but I would hate to like go full force on remembering the pets and then not mention that people have come to me and said, we need a little memorial garden for people. And I'm like, that's a great idea. How do we make that happen? But this bridge thing, we could do this. How would we do this? Like, how would we get this done?
I think we agendize it for a future meeting, so it can be a formal discussion. You could potentially make a motion to recommend to city council. Depending on where that conversation goes, if there's an intention to make it artful in design, then we probably want to engage the Public Art Advisory Committee
Yeah.
and vet the project through them
We
as
know
well.
some people there.
Yeah.
Like, yes.
Yeah, can we add that to a future agenda? Let's make sure
Yeah.
that we do discuss this. I did reach out to anonymous Victoria, and she was able to provide me with a link to the bridge, so not a better photo, an article about it, and so I can share that. She shared it with me. So it's actually, I think, located in North Carolina, someplace. So.
All right. Anything else before we adjourn?
I'd like to thank our new fan club, the two wonderful children back there that have behaved so
Yay,
beautifully.
Good job.
Yes, I agree.
Thank you for coming.
All
I
right.
have one question.
Oh,
How
yeah.
many cookies do we need?
Back to the cookies. I would say at least 600.
Okay, good, that's what I wrote down.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
All
Just wanna
right.
make sure.
Thank you, everyone. If there's nothing else, I will go ahead and adjourn this meeting. It is 8:07.
That's a long one.
Thanks, everyone.
And done. Well done.
I think I have
Ooh. I love Mary. How's she doing?